everyone wants to navigate to that pre-session activity, pick one of your opportunities, make a checklist, and then tag them. A is it's ready. 2 is I'm gonna have to like rejig it a little. And Z is maybe I'm not ready. If you look at your checklist and you're like, whoa, there are some major roadblocks, maybe go back to the database, go back to opportunities. Like I just went through 2 of the shortlisted items on my list and tell yourself, hey, like I'm gonna try this checklist process again. So guys, friends, if you are listening, now would be a time to take maybe we'll do 7 minutes, because it's a nice unround number, and I'll check back in with you, and if anyone wants to share how their checklist and tagging went, by all means. So yeah.
Okay.
Any questions? Cool. Share the grant they selected, and then how maybe a makeup of like you're like, oh, I have like 2 out of 5 easily available out of the requirements to apply. Anyone? Pardon my oddly framed question. Well, I can also share. And if you need another couple of minutes, please let me know if that's a thing. Totally cool. And we can give another couple minutes. If you're ready to move on, just let me know. We're ready to hear more. Okay, well, I'm gonna presume you guys are here. And I'll
Okay, we are here.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if you're like really deep in their checklist or what have you. So for me, just talking to you guys about these 2 situated worlds and 2021, swimming in air, I actually went ahead with, it's redirecting. Okay. I went ahead with looking further into this international call, and I saw that their requirements. So we've already done the eligibility. I know I'm eligible. They're asking for everyone outside of Japan or Japanese citizenship to come experience Japan without actually physically going. It's an interesting concept, and it seems like it's something that they've been doing. But here's where we get to the interesting part. So requirements, okay. That's all. Where's the actual how to apply? Okay. How to apply. No, there was another section. Here. Nope. Contents to be submitted. This is what I wanted. Okay. So I wasn't sure what personal information was, so I moved aside. They also made me a perfect checklist. So now I was like, CV, I've got one, but it probably needs a slight edit. I think it's a little cluttered at the moment, and it may not have the relevant exhibitions that I've done for something like this, which is a visual first, or so I thought. Okay. Then my portfolio would probably be wrapped into a document with the CV. So I'll give that about it's a 2/Z. I think I'd have to time lock myself and say, hey, what are your goals? Get that done. Give yourself like 2 hours to do it. And then I have to update my website a little bit, but I think it'll be pretty quick. So I'm going to just say everything for artistic activities is a 2, potential Z, but we're going to try and avoid that. And then my proposal plan for my research artwork project theme, where Hokkaido and Sapporo are landing points / temporary destinations of my movement. So that's pretty big. Luckily, I did, prior to coronavirus, have a project that I was pitching that is location dependent. And it would be a really interesting process to potentially pitch it with the intention of never actually going to these places and relying potentially on fellow artists that exist in Hokkaido and Sapporo, or maybe databases of specific data that I'm looking for. So that's a Z. Right now, that's a Z. I'm gonna have to go back into this weird time known as 2019 and look at my proposal outlines and motivation to participate in previous programs completely unrelated to this. So it's a Z. So right off the bat, I'm like, I don't know about this. So the next thing I did was I actually jumped into the online form. I don't know if it'll open up. And so yeah, there's a lot. Basically, they do get you to check off and confirm that you are eligible again. And then your personal information that they want are standard things. And then that's when you get into the meat and potatoes of the application. And I find it very helpful to kind of open these things up and look at them, maybe make a checklist off of that. However, I wasn't intending to apply for this today, so that's where my checklist ended. So I kind of would say for this 2021 swimming in air, I am between a 2 and a Z in my ability to apply for it right now. Does anybody else have like a grade from A to Z that their grant fits or doesn't, maybe?
So for me, I was actually looking at those grants, and I figured that most of them I fall at the Z. Like for me as a person and for my organization. And I just went out, and actually I am kind of stuck in a wormhole right now as we speak. I'm just
Okay,
trying.
yeah, I know. This is a very natural place to, and like also yeah, I think next week we're going to
Yeah.
talk a lot more about this, and I am going to present some options because I came into this I guess totally biased to my own desires, and one of my
Mm,
desires is to connect my financing with my artwork. But I noticed that I don't know about those things. And if I look at the
mm,
last year and a half, all of my paid endeavors as an artist have fallen through, like straight up. Like either they've fallen through or they're seriously postponed until like whenever, like no
mm,
clear cut whatever. And that has been very frustrating. But also like I hadn't been trying to be a full-time artist prior, like when I started this activity. So I've been reframing, and I didn't get to fully update the website today, so I kept a few more really intense or like related like to financing kind of opportunities. But I've noticed there's a lot of skill building, a lot of art making that you can expand yourself, your practice. And I'll be sharing more of those next week. Today, however, I am gonna go through uh one of my own applications, and this is very meaningful to me, you guys, because it was the application I made the day after or the day of our first session. So I felt very motivated to try something new. And that kind of speaks to what Wamsi is talking about. So when I look at things to do with visual art or to do with film or just that combine many elements of like scene art forms or whatever, that freaks me out. And I get into a bit of a wormhole. So I've noticed that I'm reaching out to opportunities that may but do provide other things. Like, so we'll get into that. Let me just pull up Unsung Voices. And also I may need to give you guys some background on Unsung Voices. So hang on. Let me just make sure I have all of this ready. There we go. So the funniest thing about this, so this is the opportunity I had to youth. It's a video production workshop. Briefly, it's targeting young Asian Canadians. And the opportunity specifically is to produce and present a film that's 8 minutes long in any genre. And the entire collection of films will receive a world premiere. So I noticed that they do mention that there may be an honorarium, but even in their info session, they have not specified what that honorarium is. So it could be anything. And also notice it's targeting ages 18 to 29. So I did check in and say, hey, I turned 30 on June 4th, which very interestingly is the day that they said that they would contact their shortlisted applicants. I, meanwhile, do a thing where I set it and forget it. So I applied for this. I kind of try to let myself let it go. Like I didn't remember that they were supposed to send this on my birthday. And then they sent it the day after my birthday. And I was like, oh, that was supposed to be a birthday present to myself. So I did get shortlisted for this. I have a meeting tonight and I'm nervous because I feel totally out of my element. But we're going to go through my application because I've noticed that I can get to a shortlist point where I like this is a strength I feel I have, and I'd like to give some insight. It's all on the website itself. So if you go ahead and click Unsung Voices, you will get to this page that includes what their questions were, and it was a Google form. So this was less cumbersome than that last 2021 in air residency that I was looking at. But I found, hey, like I just focused for 2 hours and I applied for this. I think I also used a mobile phone because it was a Google form and because I really rely on Google Drive and maybe my website. I often can apply for things even when I'm in like the midst of menstruation or some kind of discomfort. I can be in my bed applying for grants, and I think that's what happened in this scenario. So let me jump into this a bit. As you can see, I kept up my silly numbering, which is A to Z, which gives me flexibility to change how many bullet points are in things very easily. But yeah, so I guess I've given a kind of background. Does anyone have any questions about the actual grant itself? So I did hear somebody unmute.
I unmuted because I found it so funny that you just applied it through your phone. And I wanted to tell you, I wish you all the best in your meeting today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's a good opportunity for me to also deeply review this by sharing it. I do feel a little exposed, and I will say, as a content warning, like I've mentioned, I think my brother is an autistic man. That's not a thing to warn you about. He does have epilepsy, and I mentioned that in this application, along with like maybe some just sensitive things about how I care about and for my brother and my father. So that's just a little, and I mean, you could have already read some stuff. So I'm gonna keep sharing, and let's. So please state what the opportunity, unsung voices, this workshop affords me. So immediately I mirror back what they're asking, and then I keep it to the point. I say, hey, I want to canonize unexpected conversations with my community recorded in the past 18 months. So I've kept it pretty broad. 2, dedicate time necessary to carve the audiovisual narrative of this period. So I've been noticing giving myself dedicated time to work on this specific film is impossible right now. And if I have a specific forum in which I'm doing that, that will help me. And then dialogue thoughtfully with other Canadian creators, mentors, and filmmakers while learning and honing storytelling skills. So I've kind of broken it down into maybe some themes and some things that I get out of it. Kept it short though, because I'm like, these guys are going to be reading a lot of applications, and I just like to like consciously think of the people reviewing and how hard it is when I use a lot of words when I speak, too many words, or in my opinion, too many words, fillers and things like that. I noticed in this scenario, I've definitely used some like jargony sounding things like dialogue thoughtfully. I'm like, literally, I just want to make friends with some Canadian artist. That's like the translation. Dedicate time necessary. I kind of mentioned. It's just hard. And yeah, and keep track of these unexpected conversations with my community. We'll get into that. So why is being in the Unsung Voices youth video workshop important to you? Again, I kept it pretty short. I think they gave us larger word counts, but I didn't use them. So I like when in doubt, like you're often limited. Like they won't let you go over the word count, but they also maybe don't need all those words. You have to question. And so I even said, hey, I told you why it's important to me in the previous one, and then I'm gonna describe way more in depth here what kind of filmmaking I'm into. Now I made this youth part red because I don't know, you might not recall, but these types of programs in Canada are given for something they call youth. And youth is a very generic term that is always morphing and changing. And based on geographics, I've noticed in Europe, they often do under 35 and under, 40 and under. But in Canada, it's 29 and under. And I don't know if you remember, but I turned 30 in the past week. So that was a big question for me. I was like, can I still apply? And somebody emailed me right away and said, hey, as long as you're 29 at some point in 2021, you're good. So I knew I was in that way. And then I described what kind of filmmaking I'm in and or what I'm interested in. And I think I've also been in another Canadian program that's weekly and meant to last 8 months and ends with 10 strangers coming together and making a short film. But that is a narrative and fiction. And I noticed the concept of meeting 10 strangers from across a very large amount of space. It has freaked me out. So it made me think and forced me to think about what do I actually want to do? So I did say, hey, I'd like to review footage I've collected between November 2019 and April 2021. focusing on unexpected, occasionally uncomfortable, and often meaningful conversations with my father that my father and I have had over the course of 18 months. So my father lives on a remote rural solar farm in Maharashtra with my brother, who's 28 and autistic and very, very funny and very smart socially and otherwise. And prior to the pandemic, they used to split their time between where I am now and this remote solar farm in middle of nowhere, India. Okay. And like since the spring of last year, my dad was also going through his own emotional trials and tribulations, I should mention. So like just our conversations and how I feel about the future related to maybe living with my brother or being around my brother more. Those things have like really like there's things I've always thought about and I've told other people, but to start those conversations with my father of like, hey man, one day you are going to not be here. Let's make that transition really meaningful or thoughtful. And mind you, my dad is 65 and like runs marathons for fun. So he has this theory that it's going to be 40 years. That's when he dies and I take over apparently. So these things are really funny, but they're also really poignant and they're kind of like painful sometimes. And we go through phases. And I've documented every single conversation with the man since September 2020. God damn it, I want to use that. So that's a bit about this project. And I guess then they ask you, what do you use? And as you can see, this is a little different than some of those opportunities that I've shared thus far, in that it is meant to expand your skill repertoire, potentially expand your portfolio, give you something to add to a reel. And I did link things, videos, but these are my music, or me talking about my music. So again, like I'm about to potentially make a film, or but like I can use my background in music. If you were getting into digital storytelling that involves visuals, but you have a portfolio full of photography, that's incredible. And that's still very valuable and valid and can show lots to a potential granting organization. So here I had to describe the video. This is where I have question marks for today and what I'll probably review more in depth. But yeah, this is essentially like an insight into how you might want to write something, or just like a reference point. And I'm happy to share more of these. I need to do this for myself, but if you have any questions, please jump in now. And then I wanted to spend at least 15 minutes today kind of getting started on that list. So if we go back to this week. So you've kind of rated some things and maybe they all feel like Z's, but what I might do a temperature check with myself and say, how do we feel about applying to our targeted grant? I don't know. Or Rebecca just put up Raia just put up 4 more opportunities that have got my mind working. I may need to go back to previous iterations or previous weeks. Maybe check out, what is happening? Yeah, maybe check out one of the previous weeks, make that eligibility checklist, all of that stuff. That's fine. And then is it achievable in a time frame that you have, that you can allocate? And if not, feel free to pick another grant from these opportunities. And this is the part I haven't added just yet. Please forgive me. It has been a little bit of a crazy week. But I have a lot of opportunities where I think if you're in a place right now where you may not, I think there may be a confidence gap for folks like Wamsey. I'm speaking to you directly right now. I think there's a bit of not necessarily that you don't have the prerequisites. It may be that, hey, you need to just get into the practice of applying. Forget you said it and you forget it. Because I have to tell you, I did not really think about this filmmaking project until I got an email a day late. And I was like, oh, okay, yay. But I don't think about it after I apply. And part of that is maybe getting into a rhythm. Now I hear someone's unmuted, but I can't see you. Who
It's
is
one boy. It's Wamsi.
Ah,
Okay. I do think that there's a bit of that, like lack of confidence. And it's not like I don't even know how to apply for grants. I do have the concepts in my mind because I've like my background is actually in communication. But there's a point of just feeling like maybe there's something else that's more right
right.
than what I want to use. Like, is there like a specific format that you use, for example, for the grants that you apply from scratch, like the ones that you just have like you set up like a document for an
Yeah.
application?
So
Like, can you?
I tend to have like I've had a few different things.
Mhm.
The most recent effective tools have been to just keep a copy of whatever I apply for, so that
Mhm.
when I apply for something new, if I feel a resonant element between a proposal I've made to another institution and this one, I just go back to the old. So like, for example, if there are two grants in, I'll use the newest opportunities. And these two are directed to photographers. So, say I'm Julian. I don't know if this is possible, but I might apply to the easiest one or the one that I have the application requirements for first. And what I'll do is I'll keep a copy of it. And then when I'm applying for the second one, I just uh, see if there's any resonant elements. The other thing I think that I've done unconsciously is that I have looked back and seen certain projects kind of form based off of me applying for things. So there's like one project that involves biodiversity and sound. But I often expand that and say, hey, like that's what I actually have a background in. I want to make visuals for it, and that's what I'm applying for grants for. And like so there's a lot of overlap. Basically, the bottom line is I keep a master document that contains every single application. I don't think I've been as good about it, or like oftentimes you have to do even just like a PDF application that's some like just gives it to them in a nice document. So that tends to get a little hazy, but I think over the course of the last 2 years I have maybe 3 or 4 projects that I can apply for, like that I think of as mine, but that when I see a grant that fits it, I just like dump that proposal in there, obviously adapted to the institution and their timelines and things like that. But the general like idea, the general proposal, my general artist statement often stays the same. Like my artist bio, it doesn't really change. My CV, I've been thinking about having a modular CV where I input maybe 3 or 4 really key relevant projects, so I might make a master list of my experience. So then I can just dump things in directly. But these are some of my tips. Bottom line is whatever makes it easier for you to do this in a rhythm is where I feel like it's useful. Otherwise, if it is like a big deal to you at this, it's going to be a big deal to you for the first one. But if you can get into that rhythm and you also have a project that you feel close to, that you're like, yeah, my collective is going to need funding that goes on and on. So I'm going to have a slide deck about my collective. That makes sense. And that's potentially a document that you use in commercial settings, in whatever. So I guess I would start by prioritizing what the requirements are, and maybe like your artist bio is where you start, like update that, and it might like lead some of your ideas. I don't know if that made sense, but you could please ask follow-up questions.
Okay, so I have understood like how like your kind of theory or philosophy. I've understood your philosophy of making proposals, and the thing I am actually very keen at is the actual format.
Yeah.
You said that there's you have like a bio or artist statement, and then like
Hmm.
because I'm sure there's so many unnecessary things that I learned when I was learning how to do proposals, and I want to do away with those and just focus on what really matters for writing a proposal for a big grant. Because especially now,
Right.
my collective is going to need that going on, and I don't know, or is there a class that you've identified that we are going to maybe like check out a format or something, or that you usually use, or
Sorry, a class, or what was the end sentence?
no, I just need to understand your a format. Like maybe you can share a sample format with us or something.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so like an artist bio example is what you're kind
No,
of,
no.
no.
An actual proposal, like a format of an actual proposal, because
Oh, sure, yeah.
that's the thing I was telling you about, that I feel like I lack confidence in like just using this one, because I feel like what I have might not be the best. Maybe there's a better one. Maybe yours is the best one. Can you?
And
Is
that's
it
the
possible?
that's the thing I'm gonna also really emphasize here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think this is such a good point that you've made, where you said best or better. And I
Yeah.
just have no idea, like literally, and I don't even try to be best or better in this specific scenario besides my strategy. So I want to have the best strategy. And to me, as an independent artist, creator, living in a basement vibes, the best way is the least like effort, but also like potentially things that expand my practice. So something like the filmmaking, it's really out of my realm. So that felt completely brand new. And that was me sitting on my phone for 2 hours filling in this. But like I wrote this on my phone. So that's an example of a grant that didn't take a lot of effort, but I need like I just sat like key factors were that I told myself I'm applying for it. I clicked enter once I was done, and I had kind of reread it, but I hadn't really. And I was given the option to go back and edit it at any point before the deadline, and I didn't. So this was just my first draft, whatever. And that is my strategy, where I'm like, I will apply to opportunities that are attainable for me, achievable for me to apply to. But beyond, like, I guess, yeah, I wouldn't say that I think I'm getting better or worse. I think I'm getting clearer in my grant proposals. So emphasizing things like imagine yourself in the juror's position. Imagine getting 100 applications that were as long as the one that you saw, which is just for a work series. And then like think about how you would maybe get someone's attention. And I've noticed, yeah, like keeping things short, bulleting, like using bullet points or numbering systems to just identify your core goals, and then expanding those thoughts out as you get asked questions throughout an application. So I don't know if that fully answers things, but I would be happy to share even like screen grabs of my Google Docs and things like that, and answer any follow-up questions that you have after looking at those things. So I'm going to make a note of that, because next week is all about thinking about, hey, like, is it that I'm not feeling I have 100% of what this is looking for? Or is it that I just don't know? Like, I just haven't tried yet. And that's okay too. Like, I have to say, like, yeah, like it's not going to work every time. I'm pretty sure I've been rejected from a lot of things. Oftentimes they don't even send you a rejection email. I could tell you, I just read through it and archive it so that I don't see it on, like, when I'm checking my email the rest of the day, but I have it. And I keep track of where I'm shortlisted, so I know that when I'm feeling more confident again, like these guys have already said almost yes to me, maybe I can go back to those. So I think, like, really just give it a shot. And Wambui, I'm happy to do like a one-on-one with you where we actually go through something you're interested in, and then I can just give you like a session where we're just talking specific to you, or specific to your collective. And that's something that, like, I have interest in just myself. I would love the opportunity to do that with you. So
Awesome.
okay, that's really exciting to hear. And yeah, I've kind of talked through this section, if you will. Sorry, I'm looking at my computer too. This is a mess this week. I'm trying to get used to the idea that I won't be upstairs next week. So I did this today, but yeah, I want you to potentially, I guess, Wambui, take the next we don't have that much time, but let's go till the end of the hour. Right? Yeah, at the end of the hour. And I want you to just free write a proposal for one of those, for your selected grant. Does that sound interesting?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so let's take that time. I'm counting down now. All right. Bye, guys.
Okay, bye.
But not like actually bye, like stay on the call. Okay. Bye.
And I was already closing my book.
Hang on a second. Wambui, did you want to share?
Yeah, I can share.
Hmm.
So there's a grant that I found. Like I told you, I was stuck in a wormhole, and this wormhole was for grants. And I found a grant that already expired in February 2020. And it was by Prince Claus Fund Grants for Cultural and Art Organizations Worldwide. That's what it's called.
Okay.
And they are funding collectives or kind of social cultural changes in the creative industry. I've even shared it. And this is what I have written. Like 5 minutes is very little for me to write a proposal, but this is what I wrote. The first thing I had was background information. And that was CC Wellness is an organization that seeks to impact creatives in 2 ways, which is number 1, mental health and wellness and artistic development. We seek to achieve these two main, we seek to achieve these pillars through different projects. And for us, for the application, okay, at the moment, I'm not really reading, I'm kind of making it up as we go.
Cool.
Because I just mostly did the notes. And
I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned that it was a grant that was available as of February 2020. Are they doing
Yes.
a this year's iteration? Like, is this an ongoing thing?
But I think so. I think they should. I'll just check on this website slowly, and most
Hmm.
probably I'll see if they have that.
Yeah,
Uh,
because before we're doing any proposal for, I want to Google this place. So you said Prince Claus?
I've sent you the link on the grant
Oh,
group. Whatever is this on
excuse
Discord?
me. I'm just like,
It's okay. It's
ah,
okay.
okay. Let me take a quick look as well. Can you see my screen? Is that
Oh, let me see.
visible?
I'm just looking at. Oh, maybe I can share my screen.
No, no. I think I thought I was sharing my screen, but I just wanted to. Yeah, I am sharing my screen. Okay, so I don't know if it's connected for you all, but they're currently inviting. Let me just quickly do a. This looks really cool, actually.
Mm.
Um, and when is the date? Apply by 10th of February. So yeah, it might be February 10th, 2022.
You never know. I'll check.
No, I think it's very valid, especially by like I've barely looked at this, so I will definitely take a closer look.
Yeah,
This looks really, really fitting potentially, and
yeah.
yeah, this looks very intensive though as well. So,
It
uh,
is.
yeah, I'm like, um, wow. We'll look at this together though. Like I think thank you for sharing this and definitely I can see where the wormhole for you. And I felt those feelings and then I just kind of park because I have like collective ideas. But often for me, my collective is very geographically disparate.
Mm,
Nationalities are different. So one of my weird ideas last year was to connect with a bunch of Canadian artists that I knew were practicing but don't go for grants and tell them, hey guys, we need 50% Canadians on this project. And so I know you do all of these things, but like that's also a key strategy that I kind of like formed for myself, but I've parked. Because I have like I also just like my own personal differences is that I might not value like my collaborative ability I get nervous about. Um, and that might not be your scenario. So thank you so much for sharing that. I definitely want to circle back with you privately in DMs and set up a time where we could go through this meaningfully. Even if it's a digital collaboration, like where I just go through my eligibility check, I test when is this February 10th that they're talking about? Is it already passed? Because if it's already passed, it may be a really wormhole activity then because of like you know what I mean?
yeah.
So I just come at it from that perspective where I was like, wait, Wambui, I want you to be applying for something that is actually available to start. But now I know also this is a good reference point for you, like for me to know what Wambui is looking for because I'm not looking at that scale. You're like next level, okay? I don't know. But thank you, like thank you so much for clarifying and trying. And that's exactly what the 5 minute or 6 minute kind of activity is meant for. So guys, thank you so much for all being here. We're 6 minutes over. I do want to do one last thing, which is sharing screen. So if you would like to head over, you'll notice that week 5 is or session 5 is titled content, the adjective, as opposed to week 1, which was collecting content. So I do think that there's like a rhythm for myself, but there may also be a big push for others, like where at a certain point of the year or at certain points of a year or whatever time period, because time is just a social construct. But at a given point, you do a hard push, and maybe you have a collaborative group that is part of your collective, where there's going to be downtime between collecting everyone else's information, thinking about your collective's large scale goals and things like that, that I feel like I've barely scratched the surface on. We'll get into some of those things. And mentally arming thyself. So getting rejected doesn't feel nice. I'll also say that saying no to an opportunity is equally tough. So that's happened a few times where even after applying and doing all the grunt work in order, like, just like ideating and dreaming, when it actually comes down to it, logistics wise, and I said this at the start of this hour, like so many things don't happen. And that is the nature of also creative work. So this, for me, sometimes feels like a commercial almost project, in the sense that you are aligning to another organization, but then also with leeway in that the organization wants your perspective. They may want certain formats, they may want physical presence. That has been a limiter for me in 2021 with a couple of different opportunities. So saying no is hard. And then next week, we'll also talk a bit more about how to address that confidence gap. And when we say confidence gap, we're not talking about, lacking confidence. We're maybe actually talking about how we see ourselves versus what we actually bring to the table. So there's lots of research on this stuff. I'm no expert, and I'm nowhere near academia. However, these are real things that do affect even the pool of applicants. And that's something that I think that I consciously think about. I like to tell myself, hey, if you're feeling like you're hitting 60% of things, remember that a white man does apply for that shit. So, and that's just stats. And especially in my context. So, another thing that I sometimes feel, we'll get into it next week, okay? And we'll share some skill building opportunities. So if you're feeling like, whoa, Wambui just shared a 50,000 euro grant, that's how I'm feeling. I've just put my hand up. It's like, huh? Whoa. I've had a lot of opportunities where people offer their time, their mentorship, their lived experience, but also their resources, some things that you have to pay money for, but if you're working with an organization, they just come with those things, that kind of stuff. So, and we'll have way more time for questions and what have you. But I hope this has been helpful. I hope you're not feeling too stuck in a wormhole. And if you're just tuning in now, welcome. There is a link in Getting Grants, and I will tag you guys with this week's session. But thank you for joining. Does anyone want to share anything? You're free to push off. But if you did want to share anything, please, and any other questions. But we're wrapped for today. This has been great, as per usual. It's turned into the highlight of my May and June, everyone.
Thank you so much, Raia. I just wanted to recognize our friend and fellow creative, Kariminal.
Karim!
Kariminal, yes.
Kariminal.
Yo. Hi, guys.
Hi, Karim.
Hi, great to be a part of this, man. I just happened to show up a bit late.
Too late.
That's totally cool. No, it's designed to be, hey, an informal conversation that you could potentially drop into. We did some exercises, so I don't know if when you came in, we were all silent because we were silent.
Yeah.
But yeah, the getting grants section of Discord here on Currents server is a great point.
All right,
and
I
it's a
will catch
pleasure to
up.
meet you.
All right, pleasure to meet you too. I look forward to the next one.
Yes, please make sure next time you come in at 4:30 sharp.
Oh, so that's when it starts. Okay, that's cool.
Yes.
All right, cool.
That's yoga.
But the thing is, we've been getting so late. So by 5, we have already officially started. I also, we have a space in the Acacia Collective, and we usually have yoga before this grant application workshop. So it helps a lot if you want to join us next week.
Nice.
There's also someone. Yeah, exactly. There's also someone else called Cityronics. I don't know whether they want to say hi.
If you want to say hello before we go, by all means. Yeah, I'm pretty new to Discord, but I think I like this format where I'm mostly voice, sometimes sharing a screen. It's really nice. I hope it's been reasonable over at the Acacia Collective, and if you're following along on your own device. Also, thank you to Monria and Currents.fm for coordinating this and ensuring that it did come to be. I've been very lucky and feeling very grateful to have met as many really cool artists as I have, and for us to just be bouncing ideas off of each other. And yeah, I think I've taken some notes on what you want more of for next week in terms of, I guess, like how I come up with a project proposal was one really big thing. And I don't know if I have an answer for that, but I am more than happy to share more of my process and kind of get that sorted out. But yeah, thank you all for joining. Karimina, I look forward to learning more about your art forms. If you want to drop that in the Getting Grants section, please do. I am going to hop off the call now. I gotta run.
Okay, bye, Raia.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.